afternoon and welcome to the Porch broadcast. As you can see, we're not out on the porch today making a video, but we're out in the mountains. And the reason for that is this is my day off, and one of the things that I like to do when I'm taking a rest day is I like to get off up in the mountains and relax my mind and do a little riding around, sometimes a little bit of hiking if I feel like it. Today we got up Saturday morning, and I had a few things I couldn't put off. I had to do. Rain's going to be coming in this afternoon sometime, and I had just installed a mini split on our little house, and the wiring was still not covered, and the plumbing and stuff. So I went ahead and got after it this morning, got all that stuff installed like it should be. Then I had a couple other little things I had to do. But anyway, I thought, well, if I just keep staying around the house here, I'm not going to take any time off. I'll look up and it'll be late afternoon and I'll still be working. And so I thought, well, best thing for me to do is go by Subway, get me a sandwich and a bottle of water, bag of barbecue potato chips, and go up in the mountains and take some relaxation time. Of course, I'm going ahead and doing a video while I'm doing it, so my ability to stop completely is not very good, is it? But anyway, here we are. So we're going to talk about taking off a little time for yourself today. It's a subject that people really take for granted and maybe don't think it has any importance, but it really does have a lot of importance. If I go 7 days a week, which if I stay around the shop there, I'll work 7 days a week. That's just my nature. I don't like to stop, especially if there's something to do, and there's always something to do around the shop. So the only way I can avoid working all the time is I got to just leave, go somewhere and relax. And so that's kind of what we're doing today. But the reason we want to talk about that is it is necessary to do that. Now, where I first learned this at was we had hired a lean manufacturing consultant in a company I was working for, and he was helping us with a few things, and he gave us some really good advice. One of the pieces of advice that he gave us, I didn't agree with when he gave it to us, and it has to do with what we're talking about today, taking some time off and recovering and, taking time for yourself, resting. So anyway, we were talking, and we were working most of the time 5.5, 6 days a week because we just had that much stuff going through the production lines, and it was a big company. And he says to me, he says, Paul, he said, I can tell you how to improve your production. I think he said 10, 15%. And I said, I'm listening. He said, go to 4 days a week. And I went to laughing. I said, fella, we can't even keep up at 6 days a week. I said, why would I think about going to 4? He said, well, hear me out. So he says, when I say 4 days a week, what I mean is do 4 10-hour days. You still get 40 hours a week. And he said, it'll up your production 10, 15%. And I said, boy, I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. I said, I've always been trained up your production and just work harder and work more hours. And so it's going to be a hard one for me to buy. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, if you'll try it, he said, I will promise you it'll do what I'm telling you to do. And he said, the reason I can tell you that it'll do it is, he said, I've done it several times in several companies. And he said, it's never failed. It's always done just exactly what I said it'd do. I said, all right. And I said, you seem to have a lot of faith in what you're telling me. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to give it a try. And we did. I put the guys on 4 10-hour days, and we were 2 or 3 months into it, and we were keeping a very close eye on all of our production numbers, measuring everything. And sure as I'm sitting here, it did just what the fella said to do. It upped our production 10, 15%. I wouldn't have believed that, but it did. Now, I started taking off the 3 days with the guys, work 4 10s and take off, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so I had some personal experience. Now, the 10 or 15% production, that was a good thing. And that's what we were shooting for. But there was a added benefit to this that was really something I would have never dreamed if I hadn't taken the time off with those guys and was doing the same thing they were doing. I'll tell you what, that 3-day recovery time, I was so refreshed and ready to go back to work Monday. It just made my whole week better. And knowing that I just had 4 days in front of me made it even better. Now, we were getting that result with everybody across the board, and it just changed everything. Well, what I'm saying to you is this right here. What I learned by that, and I have to make myself do this now, guys. I really still do have to fight this, but I've learned that I need some time off occasionally. Now, I normally just take 1 day a week off, Saturday. You know, the Bible talks about taking a Sabbath day, and some folks believe it is Saturday, and I don't know about that, and I'm not approaching this from a spiritual standpoint. I'm approaching it from a physical standpoint. But it's interesting that the Bible tells us that we ought to do this. And it says the Sabbath day is not made for, or man's not made for the Sabbath day, but the Sabbath day is made for man. And you see, that makes it make sense to me, because if you take that Sabbath day, you are the one that recovers. You are the one that comes back to work mentally better, physically better, and able to do a better job. So I guess what I'm saying to everybody is, if you're the guy that thinks that hard work is the only way to do anything, you're running down the wrong trail. I can tell you from experience, take the time off you need. Take at least a day off. And if you're working in a situation where you can do 4 10s and take 3 days off, do that. You'll be surprised at what it'll do. But this is more of a human thing, because here's what happens when you work yourself down, you burn yourself down, you get physically sick, you get mentally cranky with your family and all those things that go along with that. And that's not any way to live life. You know, you gotta have something in your life that makes you happy, something that makes you smile, makes you a better person for the people around you. And I will assure you this, if you don't take some time off for yourself, you will eventually burn down, and you will eventually pay the price for it. So rather than paying a negative price for something, I want you to think about this now. Just think about it, and even try it. But think about making sure you take a day off. Think about spending some time with your family on that day off if you can. At today, my wife's not with me, but she wanted to stay home. She didn't feel well, so I'm out here by myself. But if you can, spend it with your wife or your kids or both. One and I usually take this day, both of us, and we'll drive to places. We may drive almost all day, just drive around sightseeing, look at things, and it's fun, and it helps us. It helps our relationship. But anyway, think of this, guys. Do what's good for you. If you raised up old school like I was, and you think just work harder is how you fix problems, that sounds good, but it really isn't true. It just isn't true. And I say that because I've experienced both ways. There was a time in my life, and I'll say this, and then I'm going to close this video up. But there was a time in my life that I worked so many hours a day, and I worked 7 days a week, and I had a heart attack and almost died. So you got to figure out, you're either going to take care of yourself, or you're just not going to exist anymore. Or if you do exist, you're going to be a terrible person. So don't do that. Take you a day off, take some time off, and once or twice a year, try to take a week off, spend on a vacation. It's fun. All right, guys, we're here at the Porch. Love you. We want the best for you, and we hope that some of the things that we said will help you, and at the least, maybe it'll entertain you a little bit. All right, guys, God bless, and we're going to sign off.